what inspired you to make the posters that are included in this exhibition?
So what inspired the imagery? Usually when we do something, like when we're asked to do something on Katrina, we didn't want to just do a kind of generic hurricane poster. We always want to base our work on some kind of really specific kind of thing about the issue.
That really inspired this. They were taking ice to New Orleans because it was still quite hot there, and they had it on trucks. And instead of shipping the ice directly to New Orleans, they were sending it to all these other locations sort of on the way to New Orleans, like, in a really convoluted and kind of ridiculous and perplexing way. So this is the kind of image that comes into your head when they're talking about this. And so the idea came from a verbal description and implanted itself in our heads as a visual, and that's what came out. And doing that poster was really easy.
As a designer, do you try to use images that are sort of have a discussion of controversy to them, or and is that part of your goal when you make the work, or is it more about trying to communicate that one specific idea?
Well, if they're controversial, that's great. Usually when you have an audience, you have an international audience, and sometimes you can do things that can be controversial that you're not even aware of. There might be some controversy about the alternatives to war. I don't know, having these soldiers doing all these other activities, basically our intention with that poster was to show what, that these people who were going off to fight war, this was done before the war actually started, trying to express the idea that these people have lives, and they have interests and they have other things, and that you're sending human beings out to war. When people are sort of dressed in their uniforms and they all kind of look the same, you don't individualize them, you don't feel that human connection, and we wanted to make that in that poster.
We didn't want to do a kind of typical anti-war poster, stop war and all that. So we said, let's try humor with this. So in fact, that poster actually ended up we were asked to submit it for a humor show in Germany.
Then the other one that we did about the Fukushima thing, where the nuclear power not being sustainable, which was in response to the Japanese earthquake and the problem with the nuclear reactor there. It's kind of a humorous approach, but I also think that coming at something from a humorous standpoint can also make it stand out. It's not as predictable, and so sometimes being controversial in that way can really capture your audience.
I actually want to ask Dean Moore, what do you think are the most effective posters in the show, and why?
Well, anytime I see posters on the wall, I get excited because posters, I believe, it's really an art form, and I think it's a way that design can, have a big voice outside of what design is typically known to do in society. Again, I go back to the power of this particular, medium and what it can do. So particularly in terms of advocacy, and promoting something. Advocacy is really, you look at the definition of the word, it speaks to a few things, but it's a call to act, a call to do something. So these issues, they don't seem to go away. And we've got great examples of that up here on the wall. And certainly some of the posters stand out more than others. But for me, I tend to respond very, very quickly to something, immediately to something. But I particularly like the FEMA failure to execute, the one with because it speaks to that area, it speaks to the culture there. You see the figures sitting on top of the map graphic there, and of course, the state is underwater.
Well, actually, I will say something about this idea of picking a favorite. I can tell you that picking your favorite poster in an exhibition is really, really difficult because it changes every time you walk into the exhibition.
I love that you said that. You look at it and you may see it one way. Somebody may look at the image or imagery and see it a little bit differently.
Is the social politicals, what you see here, is this graphic design at its best, or does it depend on intent?
It's one form of design because most of the time, we're solving problems and we're working in industry and we're solving problems and we're promoting a concert or we're promoting other things. So I really look at it as another form of design, not so different than when, in terms of how designers are really donating their energies for the public good. Not so different than when engineers go to third world countries and they drill wells and they bring fresh water. I think that's what we should all be doing, depending on what our expertise is in terms of doing other things, not only working with industry but also doing things that really help the common good.
All graphic design is a reflection of the culture in which we live, and that a lot of what happens in our culture happens in a commercial context. You can sell socks in a really great way that, entertains people and makes them really want to get out there and buy some socks, and there is nothing wrong with that. But this is also part of the culture, and there's nobody who's going to really be paying for this particularly. This isn't a client that hires you to do work. I mean, you do this as a labor of love.
I'll ask the panel, so what actually makes a good poster?
Concept.
Well, okay. Number one, it really has to be really provocative for one thing, because you think about all the context that posters are seen in and all the competition they have. We're just bombarded with visual imagery, not only when we're looking at our computers or just going anywhere. We're just bombarded. So what's going to stop you and make you look at something? It's not always going to be seen in an empty space hanging on a wall in the gallery. It's going to be competing with other kinds of things. I always think about a poster. Really viewing a poster is a series of layers in terms of where you see one part first, and you see another part second, another part third, where it builds up, where you're really not seeing them all at once. For example, I'd say that poster over there on global warming with the figure with the head coming out. The first time I saw that poster, I just saw the water and the iceberg at the top, and then you see the figure, and so that's I'm talking about layers. And even though you see a lot of these images, they seem really complex, but they're really it's really one simple theme that's going on here.
And one of the things I wanted to ask the panel is, do you feel digital technology has changed the impact of the poster, both in terms of production and audience interaction? Does the physicality of the work change the way we connect with it?
The digital age has actually been really helpful in promoting poster and poster design, and really making them, accessible to so many more people.
Yeah, there's no question that most of the work that you see, most of the design work you see, isn't in your physical space. Most of it we see because we're online all the time. I think that the poster has been, in some ways, revived, particularly in this country, because there's a great tradition of poster design in other countries. And poster designers are actually very much revered in other countries.
I would respond to that. My answer would be no. There's no difference, really. The beginning of your question about the technology and then what you get at the end. Because at the end, it's about the image. And so how the image is delivered, of course, is relevant, as my colleagues here at the table just noted.
If you can, if both of you, the three of you can talk a little bit about this, the process of making the imagery for the poster. Do you use traditional methods, illustration? Is it all digital? Is it photography? Is it a combination of both of those things? Can you talk a little bit about that process?
We use everything. It really documents a conversation between us, but we do a lot of pen and ink drawings, we use collage, we are getting pretty good at Illustrator, so whatever you need. There are some people who work three-dimensionally who photograph their work, and it's just amazing. There's a lot of things that you can do to make images, and all of them can somehow be used in poster design among many other forms of design that we have. So
We do a lot of mind mapping. I don't know if you know what that is. We come up with an idea where we get lists of words and we put, then we put together like a mood board of imagery and then see if there's any parallels there. That's how when we did the nuclear poster there, we had a nuclear symbol, we had, other form, we had the bicycle, and we saw, hey, round things, wheels, and then you see how things sort of fit together to make a kind of statement.
Can the poster change the world? Joe now.
I would like to think.
Well, you think about the posters that were done during the whole Nazi regime area. I mean, they could. And you think about the propaganda that was done during World War II, and both good and bad. And in this country, propaganda trying to get people working for the war effort, and so it could work both ways. But I think it could. I mean, I think about the posters that were done during the thing in Poland when the martial law was the Solidarity campaign, and those posters, I mean, really important in terms of carrying on that campaign. So, yeah.
I think that design and posters in particular can change minds, change people's minds, change perceptions, and really promote ideas about things. And if not moving people to action, it certainly can move people to a different perspective about what the situation might be. The first time I learned about apartheid in South Africa was when I was a student, and I saw a poster. And I'm like, what is that? And the poster, it was a black and white poster, and I'm not sure how it was, what the process was, but it was very, very effective. It got my attention. And that's when I learned about it. And so I looked at that poster, grabbed my attention, I got more information about it, and so on. And again, it certainly changed my perspective about what was going on in that part of the world in a way that before me looking at the poster, I hadn't given much thought to.
Want to make change, want to be responsible citizens and participate with everything that they have, including their ability to make powerful visuals. I think the poster will live on with that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, absolutely. I think actually the poster is really, we're not really, I'm saying the we, but you know what I mean, the big one.
The we.
We're not really taking as much advantage of it as we could. I'm talking about folks who are gravitating towards or working as designers, aspiring designers, and I mean that in the broad sense of the word. So I see really the poster as a real means to an end for emerging designers, to really get out there and be expressive with a message, whatever the message might be. You can determine that. You can decide if it's going to be political. If it's going to, if you want to make some kind of a statement that has to do with a perspective that will reach a whole, just the multitudes, or maybe a narrower audience, perhaps. But I just see it as a great opportunity, really, to be expressive in the realm of what we have been called for a long time graphic design. And I think there's so much more mileage, really, ahead with the art and design of a poster, if you will.